Good afternoon, Pune. So I have delivered the world's longest lecture of 139 hours, 42 minutes, and 56 seconds on scientific computations. Now, what made me do that? It was my tribute to the education fraternity, entire education fraternity all around the world. So I'm here to present a talk on why primitive notion of education must be preserved. So, ladies and gentlemen, I have a story to share with you all. This is the story of mankind, we humans. Life came to this planet after millions of years of evolution, involving some of the most complicated physical, chemical, and biological processes. From a single-cell life to a complex multicell body, from a planet which was like a frying pan with lava all around, to a freezing sphere, to the vast oceans, and then to systematically organized forest reserves. Evolution continued. Life kept reforming dramatically and took various shapes. Many creatures, birds, aquatic lives, insects, bacteria, and some mysterious lives came up. Some couldn't survive, and some evolved stronger. Now, over millenniums and centuries, one animal became remarkably significant for this planet. We humans. We have scientifically proven that we were animals. Let it be DNA science, which proves that our DNA was same as an ape's DNA, or some of the research conducted by peer biologists. However, one debatable question has long been prevailing. How is our species better than other species, other creatures? So I asked my students a simple question to understand what is their notion of our supremacy over other races, other creatures. So one of my students said, it is social structure or love. I don't think, because we have examples where other creatures are better than us. You can see that there is a professor in University of Arizona, and she suggested that we should study social and individual intelligence among insect colonies as models for organized societies. You can see a picture there. It's an ant bridge. It's called Anternet. And professor at Stanford University, they found that it's exactly like traffic control protocol that we are using for the data transfer over internet. One student said that it might be the ability to survive or ability to evolve. But I don't think, because when it comes to life, everybody gets stuff. One said it might be ability to communicate or talk. One said it might be number sense. Looks like a fair answer to me. We'll take an example and relate all these abilities to understand what is the primitive, are these real spatial abilities? But I don't think any of this adds up to the greatness of humanity or defines decorated and celebrated human life. And this is kind of disheartening and shocking that we have forgotten what made us what we are, the humans. So let us take an example and relate all these abilities to see, just to relate them. Imagine, as you should, if you were taken to an isolated island and you grew up there along with few other 50 human kids as soon as you were born. And assume that this hypothetical colony has no connection with outside world, no access to anything and anybody. And assume that you all survived 20 full revolutions of Earth around the sun. So now you're 20 years old, right? And now I'm going to ask you a few questions. Just think in your head, would you be able to communicate among each other, those 50 kids? What language? English, Hindi, French, German? What language? Would you be able to count or develop a decimal system all by yourself? Or even binary system, which I believe is much more difficult to represent. Would you know any of the stuff like Pythagoras theorem or geometry or calculus or laws of motion, or how to make fire or how to do agriculture or what to wear to look fashionable on the ramps? Anything that you do today to live your lives? Anything? Absolutely nothing, right? Now that is something special. That is where we beat any other race on this planet. We have this extraordinary ability to document information and pass it on to the next generations in the form of education. There are some other species, there are some other creatures that generate information, but nobody documents that information. We document information, we pass it on to the generations in the form of education. That is where we beat any other race. That is where we are special. You can speak because you were taught basic phonetics. You learned it from your parents in the first place. They told you, they made you practice how to articulate your vocal cord and tongue to create those sounds, which are consonant and vowels. If they don't speak around you, you are zero in terms of communication. There will be no language in that hypothetical colony. If you were not passed on the decimal system, you would never know what is the difference between a group of 8 people and a group of 9 people. Your number sense is as limited or finite as any other animal or any other creature. So there will be no number in that hypothetical colony. So without teachers and ability to get educated and educate, you would know nothing. You will have to reinvent everything all over again, from phonetics to numbers to geometry to calculus to laws of motion, which has taken thousands of years. Thousands of years. Newton's and Einstein's life work is presented to you in a couple of hours of classes. Now that is something worth appreciating. Obviously, it is the reasoning capacity of a brain which constantly evolves. When you take prelim courses, you graduate, then you do a PhD, only then you are able to offer your own theory or conduct research of your own. Right? So, you will have to reinvent even survival basics, how to make fire or agriculture or culinary skills and all those things. So, all of this is called life education. And this is a necessary and greater and larger dimension of education. Right? So, my point is that we are still very primitive. We are totally primitive. We are still primitive. Now, having established how the life started on this planet and how education is something which made us technologically smarter and advanced as the centuries passed. Now, let's realize how it started to get corrupt like everything else. You see, while majority of animals are still living in their natural states, like hunting, sleeping, marking their territory by pissing, right? They mark their territory just by pissing. That's my territory. Nobody invades that. So that's what they do. Alongside, they share a natural relationship with nature and its resources. But we humans became terribly complicated with the evolution of our social understanding. And we originated ideas like business, institutions of finances, politics, economics, jobs, markets and workplaces, institutions of marriages, and God knows what more, right? So, all of this was towards the formation of civilized society, so that we leave hunting and we earn our lives through fair trades. But sometimes our primitive instincts pop up and mess us with our so-called intellectualism. You see, we still have wars, we have cross-border fires, we have bloodsheds. India, Pakistan, Russia, Ukraine, both the Koreas, they are not doing well together because we still have territory issue. We have crash markets, global poverty, uneven distributions and allocations of resources, because we still have that greed. You see, we still have post-marriage, despite of having institutions of marriages. We have post-marriage, pre-marriage, out of marriage, gays and lesbianism, which is okay, right? We have group orgies, which animals do, right? So it's okay because it's natural. We still have that tendency to be sexually independent and be sexual explorers. We still have that tendency. So our defense mechanism to any threat is exactly the same as any other animal, right? So you see that we are still primitive. Now, the thing is, let us observe some forms of corruption that went into the pure notion of education. India's acceptance rate into engineering or medical services or basic sciences, quality institutions, right, is far worse. And some millions who have applied are denied and they are deprived of quality education annually. There is a commercial mode to share education resources across borders. An international candidate pays 20,000 pounds annually for a PG program, whereas a domestic candidate pays only 2,000 pounds or nothing for the same program. So while global universities claim to be equal opportunity provider, irrespective of nationality and ethnicity, now I emphasize equal opportunity provider, right? But to me looks like they charge a fair money for this equality. Now, what do you think of IPR and patents? intellectual property rights and patents, right? Research is purely knowledge. It was assuring enthusiasm that was free in pre-era, in prehistoric era, that was totally free, that was not commercialized, that was not capitalized. Imagine what if IPR existed long back in time, and Newton and Rutherford and Thomson, they took a personal right to their own research. What would have happened? There would be no modern atomic science today. So, the very education or sharing mechanism which made humans humans is now getting capitalized. A lot of capitalism is coming into all that thing. So someone who spends $250,000 for a degree in management from Harvard or IIM is getting respected by business fraternity. And those who were equally capable but denied due to lack of resources, they will tell you that this is nothing but a form of corruption to them. Knowing education as a tool to get a job is a deviation from its very pure existence. Now, existence of such huge commercial institutions is nothing but a form of corruption into the pure notion of education, right? So now, creativity, innovation, and education, it goes together hand in hand. But the very commercialized concept of a degree and the way you are evaluated in the market is nothing but kind of corruption. See, you study engineering for 10 years, including a PhD, and then you are evaluated on the basis of a 2-page CV in the industry. Just 2 pages CV for the 10 years of innovation, creativity, and hard work that you did. So there's something wrong in the way we are transgressing from academia to industry. There's something wrong. Sir Ken Robinson, in a very popular TED talk, he highlighted how schools are killing creativity. As we grow out of creativity and not into the creativity. Not into the creativity. So every school hierarchy is putting mathematics on the top and humanities and arts on the bottom. So every intellectual parent in India want their kid to become an engineer or doctor or manager. So they want their kid to have a degree and not the education. Nobody wants them to be educated. So all of the chaos is because academic education is getting commercialized and is given far more importance than life education, right? So there are certain things that our institutes must inculcate in all forms of education at all the possible levels. We need to bring back the primitiveness of knowledge sharing enthusiasm. So it's okay, we can bring back primitive education system of India, ancient India's education system. Maybe not in totality, but at least in terms of a student-teacher relationship. At least participative and collaborative learning procedure. At least learning integrated campus life. At least a flexible or almost negligible grading system. Now, grading should not be a concern while learning. Application of knowledge should be. Now, intensity and intent of efforts lose their value in front of current output-based assessment system. So to develop a culture of innovation among students, we need to develop a system that measures and values efforts as well. Now, where are efforts and successive failures positively evaluated in our current output-based assessment system? Nobody does that. No teacher does that. Everybody is bothered about 90%, A grade, A plus grade, 3.5 CGP and all that. It's output-based system. Who is bothered? Why are they failing? Or what are the reasons that made them fail? So that is killing creativity, innovation, everything, right? And education should be for the sake of education itself. It should not be hindering or it should not be obstructing a student away from the creativity. He should be allowed to apply creativity, free thinking, free expression without getting too much into grading and all that. Now there is one more problem. We have known education as academic education, but we need to realize that this education is an integration of life education and ethics alongside academic education. We have forgotten our relationship with life as a whole itself, our correlation with the mother nature, We have forgotten our social tendency to value brotherhood and integrity of human life. We are burning fossil fuels at an exponential rate. Our global temperatures are rising, glaciers are melting, right? So lot of things are happening. So every engineering, medical, or law, or basic sciences student, or anybody should be taught and should be made well aware of these life ethics. It's important because these are life elements, these are life forces. These are the basic life forces, and everybody should be made aware of them. So coming to conclusion, I know you may have your own opinions, and as a teacher, I'm bound to respect them. But you would be surprised to know that you have opinions only because you have been educated to have opinions. You have been educated to have opinions. There were times when circumstances were so socially accepted that you wouldn't even know that there's something called as opinion. A beautiful lady in Taliban colony would have never known her opinion about her basic rights. Or an African slave in past era would never know his opinions about his freedom. Right? So they needed to be influenced and educated to have opinions and raise their voices. So education has always transformed humanity, and it sure will continue. Now TED has a limitation of 18 minutes, otherwise I'm a marathon lecturer, so I would continue and keep going on. So thank you very much for listening. Thank you so much.